What is a locksmith scam? A locksmith scam happens when someone accidentally calls an ad or website that claims to be a locksmith service. But instead of getting a locksmith to show up, they actually get a con artist that performs poor work and overcharges by hundreds of dollars. In many cases, the victim of a locksmith scam has to call a real locksmith back to repair the damage left by a scammer. This happens every day to thousands of people all across America, and when it does, most people will mistakenly think that this was an isolated incident, or I was just unlucky. What many people don't realize is that this is a nationwide scam owned and controlled by a foreign criminal organization, and that criminal organization is destroying American small businesses. So we thought we'd sit down and share with you exactly what locksmith scams are, how they work, and how you can avoid them. So exactly how does a locksmith scam work? There are three parts to the scam process: advertise, dispatch, and con. In advertising, their model is quite simple. Outnumber legitimate locksmith businesses 100 to 1 through any form of advertising. In the phone books, they list hundreds and even thousands of fictitious business names in any variation and on any street. All this is done to pretend to have some type of credibility on their websites and fake business listings. When it comes to advertising, their strategy is quite simple: outspend everybody. If we take a closer look at the pay-per-click ads, no legitimate locksmith in this country can afford that type of advertising. These scam companies have driven up the price of pay-per-click so high that no legitimate locksmith can afford to advertise anymore. Their strategy is quite simple: low price, bait and switch. Here's an example of one of their ads. They're advertising for $15 locksmith service. Another one, $19 locksmith service. Since this is a foreign criminal organization, English is not their primary language. As we will notice in this ad here, fast response is guaranteed. That's really nice. In this testimonial right here, this person responded to a $15 locksmith ad and ended up getting scammed for over $350 cash. In this testimony right here, this person responded to a $29 ad and ended up getting scammed for over $600. So let's talk a little bit about their dispatch service. Their number one thing is how they answer the phone and what they say and what they don't say. When they answer the phone, they answer with service or locksmith. Now, when you ask them, what company did I call? They will never answer that question. They will say, well, what company did you call? Again, using questions to deflect a question. There's your first sign: using questions to deflect questions. So you say, well, is this locksmith company A? They'll say, yeah, this is locksmith company A. So if you responded to a $15 ad, they'll say, well, it's $15 for the locksmith to come out, then it's $35 and up to open. That is what's going to get you, the end up. So back to the dispatch service. Their inability to answer locksmith related questions. Remember, they are a dispatch service, and many times they have the inability to answer those questions. Next up, they say, well, the tech has to see the car or the lock, all right? So if you want a final price or some close ballpark figure, they're going to say, well, the tech has to see the lock. The tech has to see the car, so we can't give you any type of price. With this, they avoid talking about price. They never give a final price and not even a ballpark figure. Now, I understand many legitimate locksmiths, any normal business owner wouldn't give you a final price over the phone. In this particular instance, there are many variables when it comes to lockouts. However, even a legitimate locksmith can tell you a ballpark. Well, it's going to be between this and this. The dispatchers will avoid details and any type of questions, and their number one goal is to get off the phone as soon as possible and to dispatch a con man to the scene. That's it. That's their number one goal. So that is the dispatch process. Next up is when the con artist comes out to your house or car. That's when the shakedown really begins. So let's start off with the arrival of the con artist, the scammer. Usually you have a long wait for him to arrive, anywhere between 1 to 2 hours. Yes, they promise 15-minute response, but that's only to get you to call. Sometimes you're lucky, you might just wait 30 minutes, but most of the time it's 1 to 2 hours. Usually they show up in an unmarked car or van. sometimes with out-of-state plates, and sometimes with magnetic removable signs. They use magnetic removable signs because they are involved in many other scams: carpet cleaning, garage door repair, plumbing, moving, towing. So they utilize these magnetic signs a lot. Next up is their appearance. Many of them look rough. They're rough-looking characters, uncut, unshaven, no badges, no IDs, and no uniform. Allow me to make a distinction. Allow me to draw a line in the sand here. There are legitimate locksmiths who don't have markings on their car, who have beards, that's perfectly fine, and they don't have uniforms. That does not make them scammers. If you will notice, scammers, and what I'm telling you here is, scammers have a lot more of these traits. When you take all these characteristics put together, plus the ones I'm about to cover in a few minutes here, when you see a whole array of these characteristics and these techniques and these strategies, there is a higher likelihood, a higher percentage rate that you'll find a scammer. You'll get a scammer showing up at your house or your car. A legitimate locksmith cares about his customer. A scammer is only concerned about getting your money. A legitimate customer takes time to answer questions of the customer and can answer questions intelligently. A legitimate locksmith is knowledgeable. A scammer is irritated by your questions. He has no clue and he will BS his way through anything. Many legitimate locksmiths are trained, certified, and the ones that are proud of it. Scammer locksmiths are always on the run. And after dealing with a legitimate locksmith, or while dealing with a legitimate locksmith, you get a good feeling. And when you're finished, you feel more secure. Your home or your car is more secure. After dealing with a scammer, you have a bad feeling. During the whole transaction, you have a bad feeling. And after the transaction, you certainly do have a bad feeling. And you know because you've been overcharged. That is the difference between a legitimate locksmith and a scammer. When you call a scammer out to unlock your house, the scammer will always use the famous thing, okay, your locks are commercial locks or they're high security locks. I cannot pick them. I cannot pick the locks. I can't get you in. I'm going to have to drill the lock. That is their famous technique. Drilling the lock, destroying whatever hardware you have on your door, and then charging you outrageous sums to place a cheap imported piece of hardware that's worse than the one you had on your door. That is the technique of the scammers. Remember this, any idiot can drill a lock. It takes a true professional to pick a lock. So when you call them out to your car to unlock your car, immediately they're going to have an excuse. You know what? If your car is an older car, they're going to say, you know what? Your car is too old. It's going to cost more money. If you have a new car, they're going to say it's too new. It's going to cost more money. If it's big, they're going to say it's too big or too small. It's too compact. Whatever the excuse, they're going to tell you it's going to cost more money. Their favorite excuses are, you have a high security locking mechanism, or the locking mechanism is complicated and I don't want to damage it, so it's going to cost you more money. These are the excuses that they use to charge you more money. So when it comes time to pay, they will rudely demand cash, even though every one of their websites claims to accept all major credit cards. And they will tell you that their credit card machine is broken. If you continue to insist that credit card or card is all you have, magically their credit card machine is going to start working again. And they're going to say, okay, my credit card machine magically started working again, but all I can accept is debit card. Why do they do this? Because most banks will not let you refute a charge. Most banks will not let you reverse a charge such as this. However, credit cards, you can dispute charges. So that's why they first start off with debit card. If you still have a problem, next they start with more psychological games. They get on the phone with their boss and they say, okay, oh man, this customer here has a problem. The reason they do this is to trigger some form of guilt, some form of fear and guilt into the customer. What happens when a technician gets on the phone with his boss? What are they trying to do here? They're trying to make you feel guilty. You know what? You've been a bad customer. Let me get on the phone with my boss and tell him how bad you've been. That is the frame that they're using. I can't believe you have a problem with my price. I'm going to have to talk to my boss. Again, they're using guilt to manipulate you. If you have a problem with the price, they will say, I gave you a discount already. So if you responded to a $15 ad and he's charging $350, he's going to say, I gave you a discount already. I would lose my job if I gave you more discounts. Again, he's using guilt. He's using guilt as a form of control to manipulate you into paying his outrageous prices. He's going to frame the entire situation as, it's your fault that your door was complicated and it cost more money. He's going to always frame the entire situation into, you know what, it was your fault, Mr. Customer, that your lock was too old or too new, whatever it was. And it's your fault that I have to charge you so much money. That is how they frame the entire situation. If you try to report these guys or follow up on them, if you ask the tech, why are you doing this? The tech will always say, well, listen, it's not my fault. The company makes me charge these prices. If you call the number that you originally called, they're going to say, listen, we're just a call center. We take calls for thousands of different fake companies. We don't know which one you're talking about. And if you are so lucky to get hold of the original company, the mobster that controls it, if you're so lucky to get hold of them, they will say, oh, you know what? That guy, that tech, we just fired him yesterday. He no longer works for us. We don't condone that behavior. He was a rogue locksmith. Again, using the triangle of deflection, sending you in circles. All these techniques, guilt, psychological games, constant lies, questions used as distractions, answering your questions with their questions. All these techniques and tricks just to overcharge you by 200 to 800% more than market rates. When you choose to call a scammer, all that extra money that you pay goes to support the extravagant lifestyle of a mob boss. It helps him make his next sports car payment or buy that third mansion in Miami. So what starts off as a low-price, local, fast response ad turns into a high-price shakedown. Their racist views toward Americans is that Americans are stupid and naive, as caught on camera by ABC News The Lookout last year. This entire system that we covered is just their locksmith scam. However, they are involved in many other scams, such as carpet cleaning, moving company scams, plumbing scams, garage door repair, HVAC AC repair, and towing, just to name a few. Every day, all across the country, thousands of Americans are being scammed, and thousands of Americans are handing over their hard-earned cash. So instead of supporting a mobster's way of life, support American small businesses in your community. These are mom and pop owned locksmiths. So how do you find a legitimate locksmith? So when searching for a locksmith, make sure you look for a face. That is, when you're searching their website, make sure you see a face of an actual locksmith. And remember, don't fall for stock photos. Look for a locksmith that actually shows his face. Legitimate locksmiths are proud of who they are, and they will gladly show their face. If you're searching online, you may have to go to the second or third page of the search engine results just to find a legitimate locksmith. If you find a legitimate locksmith shop that has an actual address, go and verify that address. Go to that actual location and verify it in person. Now bear in mind, 80% of legitimate locksmiths are mobile shop owners. So in this particular case, call them up, ask them questions, get to know them. Remember, legitimate locksmiths will be happy to answer your questions and will be glad to spend time with you on the phone. And when you find a legitimate locksmith that you like, program that number into your phone. So the next time that you need one, you don't have to look on the search engines or in a phone book. Protect your loved ones. Share this video. Make sure they don't get scammed as well. Make sure your loved ones are educated about this issue. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share your stories, and comment below. If you are ever scammed by one of these con artists, let us know. Share your stories. And one last question you may be asking yourself, what if I find myself in the middle of a scam? What should I do? The best thing to do is to whip out that camera phone. Get video of everything. Get video of the scammer's face, his license plate, his car, everything. Many of these scammers are afraid of video and will run when caught on camera. And at any time, if you ever feel unsafe, call the cops. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. This public service announcement has been brought to you by the Society of Professional Locksmiths.